I'm going to destroy Android because it's a stolen product. I'm willing to go thermonuclear war on this. That wasn't just an empty threat. That was a death oath from Steve Jobs. The tech world was once shaken, not by a new innovation, but by a brutal civil war. Two titans who used to be best friends, where one was the brains and the other supplied the vital organs, suddenly drew their swords. Welcome to the most vicious patent war in modern history, Apple versus Samsung. Let's rewind to January 9, 2007, the stage at the Moscone Center, San Francisco. Steve Jobs introduces the iPhone, a magical device, an all-glass screen, multi-touch, no stylus, and no physical keyboard. The world was stunned. Steve Jobs famously said, "Boy, have we patented it." He wasn't kidding. Apple filed hundreds of patents to protect their golden child. But there was a little secret. Beating inside the belly of that revolutionary iPhone was a South Korean heart. The processor, made by Samsung. The flash memory, Samsung. The display, Samsung. At the time, Samsung was Apple's most crucial partner, and Apple was Samsung's biggest client. It was a perfect symbiotic relationship. Apple designed it, Samsung built the key components. However, in Seoul, Samsung executives saw the iPhone as more than just a component business opportunity. They saw the apocalypse for their own mobile phone division, which was still clinging to physical buttons. Panic set in. Enter early 2010. Samsung released an internal memo that would later be leaked to the public. The title was chilling: Crisis of Design. Samsung's chairman at the time, Lee Kun-hee, was reportedly furious because their products felt ancient compared to the iPhone. His orders were clear: make something like the iPhone. Then, in June 2010, the Samsung Galaxy S i9000 was born. The world saw it. Steve Jobs saw it, and he was livid. The Galaxy S looked incredibly familiar, a rectangular shape with rounded corners, a grid of square icons with soft edges. Even the minimalist white packaging and the charger plug looked exactly like Apple's. To Steve Jobs and Tim Cook, this wasn't competition, this was theft. It was the ultimate betrayal from a trusted partner. August 4, 2010, a high-level delegation from Apple flew to South Korea. They met with Samsung top brass, including Sung-Ho Ahn, a vice president at Samsung. Behind closed doors, the Apple delegation pulled up a presentation titled "Samsung's Use of Apple Patents in Smartphones." They didn't mince words. Apple accused Samsung of blatantly copying the iPhone. The underlying message was clear: you are copying our designs. Stop, or we'll see you in court. Samsung, they didn't flinch. As a massive conglomerate, a chaebol that practically drives the South Korean economy, they believed the rectangular design was simply a natural evolution, not someone's property. They rejected the accusations. The negotiations hit a dead end. April 15, 2011, Apple officially filed a 38-page lawsuit in the Northern District of California. The accusations were highly specific and absolutely brutal. Utility Patent 381, the bounce-back effect, when you scroll to the bottom of a page and the screen bounces back. Utility Patent 915, pinch to zoom. Design Patent 677, the flat black front face of the phone with rounded corners. This is where the real drama began. The main stage was no longer Silicon Valley, but a courtroom in San Jose, presided over by a strict, no-nonsense judge, Judge Lucy Koh. Judge Koh had one mission: settle this case without confusing the jury. But instead, both sides brought in armies of lawyers, thousands of documents, and a mountain of countersuits. Samsung fired back, accusing Apple of violating their 3G wireless technology patents. This war quickly spilled over into courts across 9 other countries, from Germany and Japan to the UK and Australia. But Apple had a secret weapon. They uncovered internal Samsung emails from 2010. It was a 132-page document containing a painstaking feature-by-feature comparison between the iPhone and the Galaxy S, with explicit instructions to make the Galaxy act like the iPhone. This was the smoking gun. The document contained notes like, "The iPhone does this with a smooth transition. The Galaxy feels rigid. We need to make it like the iPhone." To the jury, this looked exactly like a playbook on how to become an iPhone. With billions of dollars on the line, the fate of the 2 tech giants rested in the hands of 9 everyday jurors. Friday, August 24th, the courtroom was packed. After deliberating for less than 3 days, an incredibly short time for a case this complex, the jury returned. The clerk read the verdict, page by page. Did Samsung infringe on the bounce-back patent? Yes. Did Samsung infringe on the design patents? Yes. Was Samsung's infringement willful? Yes. The gavel dropped. Samsung was found guilty. The penalty? A staggering $1.05 billion. It was a landslide victory for Apple. Samsung was publicly humiliated on the world stage as a copycat. In an internal memo following the verdict, Tim Cook told Apple employees, "Justice has spoken. Our values of originality and innovation are more important than money." But the story wasn't over. Samsung didn't just roll over, they appealed, again and again. For the next 6 years, this case ping-ponged through the court system. Samsung successfully convinced the U.S. Supreme Court that the $1 billion penalty was absurd. Their argument was clever. We may have copied the front casing design, but not the internal components. Why should we pay damages based on the total profit of the phone? Slowly, the fine was reduced from $1 billion down to $900 million, and eventually into the $500 million range. Finally, on June 27, 2018, 7 years after the initial lawsuit, Apple and Samsung released a very brief joint statement. "We have agreed to drop all remaining litigation and settle out of court." The final amount? Nobody knows for sure, as the terms were kept strictly confidential, but rumors suggest Samsung ultimately paid Apple somewhere between $500 and $600 million. A far cry from the original demand, but still a massive payout. So, who really won? Legally, Apple won. They proved their designs were original and that Samsung had copied them. But purely from a business perspective, Samsung might be the real winner. Why? Because throughout the entire trial, from 2011 to 2012, Samsung's name was constantly mentioned in the same breath as Apple. This free, albeit negative, publicity cemented Samsung's position as Apple's one true rival. Galaxy sales actually skyrocketed during the patent war. And today, take a look at your phone. Almost all modern smartphones are full-screen rectangles with rounded corners. Apple may have won the battle, but they couldn't stop the evolutionary direction of smartphone design. Today, Apple and Samsung remain the 2 undisputed kings of the market. And the ultimate irony, the screen on the iPhone you're holding right now is probably still made by Samsung. What do you guys think? Did Samsung really steal the design, or was Apple just being overly possessive of a simple rectangle? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more epic tech history nostalgia. I'll see you in the next video.